Hello and welcome to It's a Sure Thing, the global conscious community platform showcasing people that are making a difference by leading by example. It's all about sharing, growing, learning, uplifting one another, and being who we are meant to be. So thank you for joining us this evening. We have had a few tech issues, so just bear with us as we move through, and please do invite any friends or family to join the live this evening. It gives me great pleasure to introduce to you a lady who I've known for quite a few years, and she is called the Face and Body Interpreter. And this is part of Psychosomatic therapy, which is like the body, mind, and soul in one. And this beautiful lady is coming live from Sydney tonight. And she has got a wealth of information. She has been studying so many different modalities and been doing psychosomatic for many, many years. She's done lots of training courses, a few of them that I've already been involved in. And she's come to South Australia and run some workshops and courses here too. It's a fascinating modality, and rather than me talk about it, I will introduce you to the amazing Linda Thackery from Face and Body Interpreter. Welcome, Linda. Hey.
Hi, how are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much for joining us all the way from Sydney there. How's everything going over there for you?
Yeah, no, it's going well. Thank you. And thanks for having me on.
You're more than welcome. So, Linda, can you tell me a little bit about what got you into wanting to know about faces and bodies and what it actually does for you? What interested you in this modality in the first place?
Well, I actually come from a corporate background, and I've always had an interest in helping people. So I had the opportunity of doing telephone counseling for about 6 years. And then I came across face reading, psychosomatic therapy, and it just spoke immediately to me. It was something I signed up on the spot pretty much for the training. And since then I've, moved completely into the full-time psychosomatics.
Fabulous. And recently you've just rebranded to the Face and Body Interpreter. And let's just talk about that a little bit deeper, because what you actually do is exactly that. That describes what you do perfectly, doesn't it?
Well, it does. My first company name didn't really tell people what it was that I did. It had more of a feeling towards it, but people at the end of the day still didn't know what exactly I did. So by rebranding to the Face and Body Interpreter, people know immediately you're working with faces, you're working with bodies. And it is very much about reading people and the emotions that get stuck, some of the unconscious patterns in the face and the body.
So with a face reading, when you talk about a face reading, what do you actually do, and how do you read a face? I know it's a big question to ask because it would take a long time to go through a 12-day training course for that. But just in a nutshell, what can you tell by looking at someone's face?
Okay, so there's different overlays of how you read someone's face. And the first overlay we call chakras, or energy centers. So they start basically at the chin and they go up. So every part of the face corresponds to a part of the spine. The body is already mapped over the face as well. And so there's different energetic centers and emotions that get stored in each part of the face. Outside of that, we take a look at the geometric shapes. So in the same way that you would maybe use like a square or rectangular brick for building, in the same way that if that was seen in the face, it would tell you about someone's practical nature, as opposed to, say, a circle where we associate those more with like balls, playing sports, moving. And the geometry in the face is very much the same as what we would consider in the outside world. Then every feature has a different meaning as well. So it's a little bit like putting together a jigsaw puzzle. and seeing the unique blueprint that everybody comes into the world with. So the face shapes kind of give us a basic foundation, and then the individual features speak of the personality, much the same way as a fingerprint does.
Yeah, beautiful. And with the actual face, then that also shows up in the body. So it kind of matches, doesn't it, with what you're seeing in someone's face. Then you look at the body, and it's the same kind of language that's happening within the body that shows up for you.
Well, particularly when you're looking at emotional patterns. So quite often emotional patterns will show up when there's emotions that we either have difficulty expressing, we may suppress them, and that can be anything from, anger, sadness, even excessive joy will also show up in the face. And what we read, many people are familiar with micro expressions from Paul Ekman's work, but we're actually reading habitual emotional expressions. And when you're seeing a pattern that's being created, we can also see some childhood influences. So the skin tone and how it's sort of shaped in different parts will tell us how somebody is enjoying their experience. And we're able to literally take a look at what muscle groups would be involved in like, say, as an example, holding back. And some of the common ones will be when someone in body language, when they purse their lips together, go, So everyone knows what that means. And when you start to see that as a habitual pattern, the lips actually disappear. Yeah. So in some jobs, that is also like not necessarily a requirement of the job, but some jobs lend themselves to having to keep a tight lip.
Yeah.
And we know the meaning of that, right? So the tight lip basically doesn't share too much, holds secrets well. And there's always a positive way of how to read a feature. And what I try to do when I work with clients and also with the students is to teach how to bring a person back to balance if they're out of balance.
Yeah, beautiful. And that's one of the beautiful things about psychosomatic therapy is that it's not about judging someone, it's about observing someone and reminding them of their birthright, and reclaiming all parts of themselves. And that's the beauty of it, and to have compassion and understanding. So you're actually seeing them from a very soulful level. I think that's something that really attracted me to psychosomatics, is that soul depth rather than superficial, if you like.
Yeah. I think as well, when you look at the right-hand side is like the public face. So it's very much action orientated, whereas the left-hand side is more the feeling, intuitive side. So it basically crosses over left brain, right brain. And when I first started the work, I had no idea the dramatic changes that will occur within the face when a person does their inside work. And when they let go of not being good enough or presenting a mask so that they're appearing different to the outside world to what's actually happening in their inside world. So as those two worlds meet, there's a corresponding shift in not only the face, but in the body as well. So it's quite remarkable.
And you can see that as you're talking to the client, it changes, doesn't it? The face changes, the body changes, and you actually do a face split when you do a face reading. Well, and even with a body reading as well, you do.
So we mirror image two right faces, and the right-hand side face represents, as I said, the public face, and two left faces, which is the inside world. And it can be a shock. It was a shock when I first had my reading. I could not believe the difference between the right and the left-hand sides of my face. I think the worst part about it was that they didn't look like they were from the same family. That was really deeply concerning. And there was a 15-year difference between the right and the left-hand sides. So
wow.
I find sometimes there can be up to 20, 25-year difference between left and right. So
wow, that's incredible.
Yeah, it is. It really is.
I'm just going to acknowledge that we've got Kylie here, Kylie Grieg. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. And Ree Driver. Now, Ree was actually at your workshop, at your Chinese Elements face reading workshop. And she's saying, I hear you on the shock. It is shocking to, it's a shock because I think we think that we've dealt with our emotions, or we think that we've dealt with some trauma, but then we don't actually realize until we see it with our own eyes the difference between the imbalance that's going on within us. Like it's that unique awareness, isn't it? I don't think there's any modality that quite does it the way Psychosomatics does it, to be honest.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. So it's also a modality that if you're trained in working with the mind or the emotions or with the body, it links them all together. So it was created by Herman Muller, who was, he was such an amazing man and quite gifted into seeing what is actually required, out in the world. Yeah. So we're starting to hear a lot more of psychosomatics by name.
Absolutely. So let's just go back a little bit to Herman Muller, because he's the one that actually formulated the training and started the Psychosomatic College originally. So how long has it been around for, his work?
His work, I think it's around about 30 years. So unfortunately, Herman did pass in 2017. But for him, it was a culmination of his life work. So he really realized the benefits of how people can learn when he was working with children that had been institutionalized, and he was part of a team that were responsible for reintroducing these kids into assisted care living. And he said it was miraculous to see the change. So that was when he started to think, what about people that have had trauma in their life, either in their childhood or growing up or in their adult life? What if we could create a safe space for them to explore and normalize some of the emotions that they're feeling? At the same time, he's added something which is really interesting, and that's the left brain, right brain integration. So you have to be a student where you're learning to read another person, but at the same time, you're also being read. So constantly you're swapping from left brain, right brain interaction. And I was always told to follow the process, trust the process. And, sometimes the changes that people experience, they're not really even sure how they've changed, but they recognize that they're really different on the inside.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, it's an inside job, right? Unless you can't heal until you actually go inside and discover those aspects of yourself that you might have suppressed or overexpressed, or whatever the case may be. And I know it's fascinating. Just if we can just talk for a little bit about the hairline, because the hairline shows childhood. And it can tell us an awful lot. If we can just have a little chat about the hairline, because there's so much we can talk about with that, and that takes it right back to birth. Well, the whole system is from birth to now, but can you talk a little bit more about the hairline for us, Linda, please?
Sure. So, one of the things we're looking at is the frame of mind. And we quite often hear people say, what frame of mind would they have been in to have done whatever? And literally, the frame of the mind is the scalp. So as we look at like a straight line, you're looking at someone who's more structured in their thinking style. They like logical step-by-step processes. When you see someone who has an oval hairline shape, then they're a little bit more open and flexible to new ideas. So if you put those two people in a room together, one may like to have that sequence of how they do things step by step, and the other will go, oh, let's come back to that later. So later may not work for the more logical step-by-step person.
Yeah, yeah. So there's going to be some challenges there with behavioural types and characteristics, and when you understand the different lines and the different shapes, you can then just understand that it's a different way of doing things, and it's not a personal attack. And that's something else that I learned with psychosomatics personally. That just don't take anything personally.
Well, sometimes as well, I think when you explain to a person their gifts and how they process, sometimes they know, particularly in the workplace, that they're really challenged by some of their colleagues, but they're actually not sure why. And when you tell them how they process differently to others, all of a sudden those aha moments kick in. And, one of those is actually the gap between the eyes and the eyebrow. You've got it, I've got it as well. And, that means that, we actually require some time to process, and things need to feel right. So if they don't feel right, then they may not be, it might take us longer to process. Nothing to do with IQ or intelligence, but it is about, for people who have that feature, going, hey, can I come back to you in 5? Let me just think about it and come back to you.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've talked quite a bit about the face. So what happens in the actual structure of the body when you're interpreting somebody with the body and their alignment and their posture and the way that their feet are and all of that kind of stuff? What do you look at? Do you look at the whole kit and caboodle?
We look at everything. So literally from the hands to the feet, you're looking at the shape, you're looking at the length of the digits, both on the toes and on the hands as well. Every digit has a different meaning. We're looking to see what lifts off the ground, what touches. Sometimes there's connection points on the feet, which ideally you're not wanting them to touch. As an example, the arch. So the flat foot, the lead foot, they've all got like emotional components to that, in the same way that the really high arch does. Yes. So the high arch is more the flight response, and the lead foot is more the fight response. So all of it starts to build a picture, and then it's, once the picture's built, it's actually the tools that go with it. So it's not just saying, hey guys, this is what's out of balance, but it's actually getting them to work on changing some of the posture, the breathing, and to understand how their shape has been created.
Yeah. And so it's never too late to change the shape. It's never too late to bring awareness to those parts of your body in order for it to release the trauma that's trapped in the cells.
Correct.
Never too late. So if anybody has the thought process that it's too late and they can't do anything, well, already just by coming along and listening to this broadcast, know that that's actually not the truth. It's an old thought process that was conditioned by someone else, and it's not the truth. It's just not. And this is science as well. Psychosomatics is actual science, and we're talking about meridians, we're talking about chakra centers, we're talking about absolutely everything in the matrix of the whole body, the incredible body that we live in. Yeah. Okay, so the top 3 things for you that were ping, I just absolutely love this work. What are the top 3 things for you that just bring you that joy of doing why you do this? What are the top 3 things that you can think of the top of your head?
So the top 3 would be how things can change with people's awareness. I still am amazed at some of the shifts that can take place, even some things that occur in the body where someone may have a growth or it just disappears. The second one is the length of time that it takes to make significant changes. And every modality's got its place. But with psychosomatics, it's a little bit like the domino effect. you get to a core issue and the ripple effect is there immediately. So it can have incredible changes. I love also mentoring the students. So once they've actually gone through training, to see them develop in their fields. And sometimes, like, I'm working with, it could be like a policeman, it could be someone in HR, teachers. I'm not teaching children, I'm teaching adults, but the teachers are able to hear the language and apply it into their client base or student base in a way that I wouldn't be able to do because I don't have their skills. Yep. So I find that absolutely incredible at the possible reach of, how it can be delivered into the world.
Yeah, absolutely beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that. And just wanted to acknowledge Marie. Hi, Marie. Fascinating modality. Yes, I know you've had a face reading before and a few of your family members. Thank you. And Joanne has put, this is something new to me. Thanks for sharing. Interesting topic. Yes, we could talk till the cows come home about this topic because we're both very passionate about it. But you have got some online training courses coming up. So can you let us know a little bit about that for anybody who's interested in doing that online training and also the workshops and the other everything that you're doing? What have you got on offer?
Thank you. So I teach face reading as an introduction to psychosomatic therapy. During that, it is also part of the psychosomatics as well, in that it is therapy based whilst you're learning some skills. And I've actually got a class starting on Saturday that will probably be far too early for most people. So sometimes I do it over 3 days. Other times I do one module a week. And my next classes are in February after this weekend. So if you want to go to my website, it's thefaceandbodyinterpreter.com. I've got the courses listed. We are doing now psychosomatics online, followed by face-to-face to get to become a psychosomatic therapist. That takes usually 6 to 12 months after you've completed the face-to-face training. And the online is an introduction, and you can actually get a certification as a face, hand, or foot reader.
Ooh, so that's something new that I'm not on top of yet, but that's fantastic, because the other thing that you do is you are the president of the INTAPT, which is the International, I'll let you explain what it is.
The International Association of Psychosomatic Therapists. So we have members, global members, and a really amazing community that comes together and supports each other. Quite a developing community.
Fantastic. You do an amazing job, and you've continued Herman's work after him passing away, and it's fantastic work. I personally think it should be in every school. It should be taught absolutely everywhere, and it makes a difference. And that's what this whole program is about, making a difference, as well as Enlightened Tribe, the Global Wellness Directory that is available on my website, sushaw.com.au. And you are part of that Global Wellness Directory, Linda. So people can find your profile and your information up on the directory. And when you've got your events coming up, you can put them up there as well and list them on the directory that people can search for, as well as on your website and your Facebook page as well. So people can get in touch with you and book in a reading with you personally if they want via Zoom, or for the training course as well. So it'd be great to go along to that. And even if you just want to do it as a personal thing, I highly, highly recommend it. And I highly recommend Linda yourself as a trainer, because you're amazing. You're amazing.
Thank you, Sue. I really appreciate being here today with you, and I really appreciate you too. So
thank you. And thank you everyone for listening. I hope you really enjoyed that. And if you've got any questions, get in touch with Linda, because she's so welcoming and open, and she's a wealth of knowledge. So thank you all, and thank you, Linda, and look forward to hearing more about your training courses online next year.
Thank you, Sue.
See everyone next week. Namaste.